Hello everybody and welcome to this amazing game of Phantasy Star Online 2. Recently I found myself and friends getting into this game, and I found that typically when they start out, we usually have to walk the new people through the start of the game. Phantasy Star is an extremely fun but also complicated game at its start. It's a tough wall of information and can be a bit hard to pick up all at once, but when you've learned the basics, the rest of it comes naturally. So I thought I'd make a video to walk everyone through the mechanics of PSO2 and get you started on the journey with enough information to get you to explore the rest of the game and know what to do next. Let's start where we all begin, at character creation. First we'll select a ship to create a character. Your ship is a server, so you'll only be able to play with others from your server once you make a character there. You can make character amongst all servers if you wish, so no worries if you have friends split amongst other servers. Personally, I'm on ship 1, come say hi if you'd like. Character creation can be pretty in-depth, so give yourself the time needed to create them in any way you want. And when beginning our creation, we'll need to pick up one of the 4 races. They provide different starting stats, but ultimately in the end of the game when you're at max level, it really doesn't matter unless you're trying to min-max your character and absolutely need every single point in the proper stat. Otherwise, the stat difference at the end game will not affect you enough to even notice or matter. If it matters to you really, then I'd suggest find a class guide, as the individual gender and race also are factored into the minor stat changes at the beginning. So if you really need that min-max, know what you're doing a little ahead of time. This is just to get you started at base. The primary difference between all the races is going to be cosmetic. Fashion plays a huge role in PSO2 and you'll likely be spending a lot of time with it. Humans, Newmans, and Dumans all share outfits and the such, with castes being the only race that has unique costumes with 2 additional customizable parts for their race. The female gender will also have a much more expensive cosmetic base on the player market due to their sexual appeal, so keep that in mind, as the male cosmetics might be a little easier to obtain. Don't worry about anything about your character being permanent either. Changes can be made for free in the first few hours of gameplay, and you'll come across several free salon passes to change everything about your character. After picking your race, you get to pick your class, and if you haven't given too much thought about this, don't worry, you're capable of changing class the moment you pass the tutorial. You'll be able to play and level multiple classes along the way and try them all out. The listed classes are only 6 of the 9 classes, so if you wanted to play with the other ones, you'll have to select one now and then just swap over when you're done with the prologue. Finish customizing your character and jump right in. As a heads up, you may have already been asked or will be asked your preference on control style being 2-button or 3-button. Personal recommendation will be 3-button, as it's probably the better, more fluid style of combat, but if you need it to be very easy and keep all your buttons just to the left and right click, 2-button will be for you. You can change it anytime in the options menu. Also, if you've been asked to choose between casual and hardcore, don't worry, this is not a long-term decision. It essentially only affects this tutorial mission you're on, casual making it easier, hardcore making it harder. Hardcore is what you will be more likely to experience as you go further into the game, with casual being the easier earlier game. So with that out of the way, don't feel like any of it's major impact, just pick one, move on. After the cutscene, you'll jump right into your first mission, being the tutorial. They'll take you through the basic controls of the game. Do listen up, they cover just about everything you need to know. This is, however, where I want to stop you and make sure you take the time to make the controls as comfortable as possible. This game is currently available in North America for both Xbox and PC, and it has crossplay. This part is primarily for my PC brethren, as our starting controls are a bit inconvenient unless they choose to play with a controller. They force us to double tap in a direction in order to get our dodge and have our third attack on the mouse wheel, which is a massive pain. So to start, let's open our menu and go over to the cogwheel icon, Options, Game Settings, Settings, and disable double tap dodging. While we're here, we'll also swap back palette switching to single press. This is located right above double tap dodging. It's just a bit easier to have it like this. If you don't feel it's comfortable, just swap it back. I find it helped most others that I gave the advice to as well. Take the time to look at these settings, as there's plenty to customize, but be sure that Meseta auto looting is set to enabled. Mine was not, and it is a pain to manually pick up all of your money. It's just fantastic when you walk by it, it auto loots. Next, look at the bindings on our mouse controls. Make them whatever you feel is comfortable, but I've put my third attack on a side button of my mouse and made the wheel of my mouse switch palettes. You'll notice another one of my side buttons is set to weapon action. Weapon action is a unique function provided to certain weapons. Some weapons don't even have an action to perform, but for the most part it is an important function when they do. By default, this is set to your action bar and uses up one of your attack slots when utilizing this attack. This action, depending on the weapon, can be very vital, and having it take up an attack slot in your bar is a bit harsh. So I've set it to its own button on my mouse, and if the mouse is not comfortable for you, you can actually go to the keyboard bindings and set a different button there to help yourself out. Just look for weapon action. There are a lot of important keyboard bindings to look at, the most important being the dodge action. X is not very comfortable to press, so I highly suggest you make that change. PSO2 is very much like Dark Souls and Monster Hunter in the fact that there is a lot of combat and your skill will carry you more than your stats. So dodging attacks completely is very important. We'll need to get used to dodging often. Shift is a comfortable button for me, so I've been using Shift for dodge. Other commands to take a good look at are sub palette. This is your hotbar essentially. You'll have your key bindings 1 to 0. 1 to 5 is pretty easy to press, but 6 to 0 can be very hard. They do provide a little cursor on that bar, which can be moved with G and H, and then you can press a button to activate that item or ability. It's very handy if you don't want to reach over and try to press those additional buttons. Just make sure these are buttons that are comfortable for you. The final thing to look at is change back palette. It's a very important button to press. You're going to be doing it often in combat, especially if you put dodge action to shift. You will have to change this button to something else that's far more comfortable. F worked for me. Find what works for you. You will be changing it in combat if you want to have more than 2 abilities. With that, combat should be pretty smooth. You should be able to dodge on command, be able to swap your back palette, and actually navigate your hotbar without using 1 to 0. You should still use 1 to 5, but you should also be able to move the cursor left and right. So that should take care of everything in terms of controls. Go ahead and wrap up your tutorial, and we're going to jump into the next bit. After wrapping up the tutorial, you'll finally enter the hub world. The lady on the intercom will guide you through your missions. These missions are a great way to guide you on what to do next and help you find your way. Missions are a great form of experience and even meseta. The main missions will guide you on who to find and what missions to do to get you to progress easily. These will be a good base experience. Make sure that you visit this screen often and collect the rewards. You won't actually get any rewards until you actually go here and hit collect. To figure out how to access this, simply open your main menu, look at the top left window, and there should be a button there for you on Xbox and PC. For PC, it's Shift. Our first mission guides us over to Afen to learn about client orders. These client orders are actually equivalent to quests. However, a good assortment of these are more like tutorials to start us out as, but as we go along, they'll go to more generic kill stuff, collect this or that. With Afen, we're going to take up our first client order. Weapon swapping is key, and here we'll teach you what the weapon palette is and how to swap it. Weapon palettes consist of 6 slots, 3 in the front and 3 in the back. When equipping a new weapon, you'll be effectively equipping it in one of these slots and then adding abilities to those slots, creating a hotbar of a weapon. Some classes make various slots for spells or different weapons with various elements to exploit enemy weaknesses, and you'll discover this as you go along. Just simply swap the palette and turn this client order in. I know how easy it can be to want to skip all of the text boxes of information, but they can be very important as they hold a lot of great tips. I skipped a couple when I started because I thought I knew everything on it, only to miss out on some great tips and information that I had to learn later from other players since I was just being quick. Take the time to read these, it's pretty important. Next, we're on to know how to set a photon art. Photon arts are weapon abilities. We'll open our menu, go to the second tab, and up to equip weapon. This is where we equip our weapons and set up the weapon palettes as we said before. Left side is for the front palette, right side is for the back palette. Simply click on one of the boxes and place a photon art inside. This is a great time to familiarize yourself and learn what photon arts you have and what they do. If you don't have a photon art, then it's likely that you picked the Force class and instead have a technique, which is a spell. There is a second client order from Afen that has the exact same setup, but instead of equipping a photon art, it's a technique. You can accept both of them and finish one of them that you can now, and we'll learn photon arts and techniques later on in discs. As you do expeditions or just go out into the field, discs will drop, you can learn any of them, and once you've learned the other type, you can just put it into your weapon palette and then complete the order later on. Just complete whatever you have available to you and we'll keep moving on. Next up, we got choosing our skills wisely. Here we'll have to spend skill points on our skill tree. You may also change your class at the very same counter if you'd like. You may swap for free and as often as you like. It's very important to understand how you're going to build your class, as changing these talent trees does not come free. There may be events where they pass out reset tickets, but for now, just know that your choices are not going to be changeable without having to pay up or wait for those tickets to come out. One skill point is awarded to you at every level, meaning you'll have 75 points at the max level of 75. You can also get an additional 14 points from the class NPC located around the center elevator or on the first floor of the gate district. These characters will give you client orders based on your class and your weapon. Make sure you find the proper one for you and start completing those client orders to unlock the specific ones that will give you additional points. Putting points into your skill tree can take some thought, as I'd highly suggest you find some guides to take the best path for your playstyle. Not only will you need to focus on your main tree, but at level 20 you'll learn a subclass that allows you to utilize the effects of that class's skill tree in combination with your main one. And the combination of these two classes makes a world of difference, but you do have to set them up properly to get the most out of it. You'll need to spend at least 1 point to finish the client order, so go ahead and spend 3 points into the first talent so that you get the base stats and unlock the rest of the skills for your tree. The other skills along the tree will show a lock and some tally marks, and once you've leveled up the skill connected to that by the indicated tally mark, then you unlock the ability to put points into that. And if you're curious what the effect of that skill would be if you leveled it up to max, you can press the Q button on PC or just select it while it's locked. It'll tell you what button to press, but essentially you can see what the maximum effect of that talent would be. It is not as valuable to put talent points into the base stats, as there are talents that grant you percentage bonuses, such as the stances or various focuses in weapons, so you don't want to put it into the HP ups, the tech ups, the range ups, all that kind of stuff. You just want to focus on finding the more potent talents within your tree, hence why you should look for a guide. This stuff can get pretty complicated, but very fun to mess with when you get the chance. As a final heads up about these skill trees, the very top row with locked skills that have a level requirement on them, those are actually free to pick up once you hit the level for that. So once they unlock, make sure you learn it. Those are very valuable skills to have later on, and they are free and don't waste any of your skill points. So free skills, make sure you pick them up. They are given to you every 10 levels. We return to Avon and pick up PSE Burst 101. This is not an order we're going to accomplish right now, but it's something you'll be able to do over time, and it's much easier to do at higher difficulties, but it's good to hold on to this client order until you get it done. Essentially, while you're out on the field during an expedition or a quest, while killing enemies, pillars of light will erupt from them. These pillars of light will indicate that a PSE effect level has increased. At the top right of the screen, you'll see what PSE effects are in effect and what level they are at. They could be element effects, experience, drop rate, enemy rarity, all this kind of stuff, but each one will be listed out. It'll show you what level they're at, and once one of them reaches level 8, you'll hit PSE Burst. PSE Burst increases experience, drops, money, enhances all effects, does quite a lot of good things for you. It's great for farming, but not performed at a lower level. So when you get to the higher difficulties, especially things called advanced quests, that's when you'll start getting more PSE bursts and focus on keeping that burst going. So for now, just accept the order and we'll work on that later. And then maybe work on a guide later about how to maintain a PSE burst. Next, we learn about units. Units is just another word for armor. There are 3 pieces of units we can equip, which are the back, arms, and legs. To put them on, you go to your main menu, second tab, which is the equipment tab, equip armor, and there'll be 3 slots for units. If you don't have any units to equip, don't worry, we'll get some later during expeditions or quests. They drop all the time, so we'll just hold on to the order and then accept the next client order, which is the Outbreak's Aftermath. Here we're going to get our first client order that requires us to go on a specific mission. But before we head on any missions, we're going to visit the next most important person of today's journey, and that'll be Officer Kofi. I think that's how you say it. I'm going to say Kofi from now on. She is the gatekeeper to a lot of functions in this game, and you simply need to finish her client orders to unlock those features. A lot of the client orders will be hidden until you hit the right level, so be sure to check back in with Officer Kofi as often as possible and finish every single one of her client orders as soon as possible. She should already have a few for us already. Most of these are simply taking the order, listen to what she's saying, and then turning the order back in, and then the function is unlocked. We'll be taking a look at mag license. Mags are small pets that will provide you a stat boost based on how you raise it. They can also cast supportive spells and unlock your photon burst ability, which is essentially your ultimate skill. After getting our license for a mag, we will have a mag in our inventory, and for some bonus experience, we can go over to Echo and get another client order in regards to feeding our mag. How this works is whatever item you feed it will put experience into some stats. Up that stat levels up and you get a +1 of that stat for yourself. There could be some interesting methods to raise your mag, and there are several guides on it, but I can give you a quick breakdown for a basic mag. Mags max out at level 200, and you can get a +200 in stats based on what you level. The stat you want to focus in is only your damaging stat. So you only want to level melee support, range support, tech support, or dex support based on what class you are. Do melee support for classes such as Hunter Fighter, range support for Ranger Gunner, tech support for Force, Tector, and Summoner, and if you're playing Braver, they have a unique skill in their skill tree that gives them the ability to take Dex on a mag and apply it to both their melee and ranged. But that's a Braver only thing. There could be others out there and some builds on mags that go more in depth, but this is a good way to start you out. To obtain a single stat mag is pretty simple. We'll feed it weapons of the damage type we're looking for. So let's say we're doing melee power. Therefore we'll feed it any melee weapon such as swords, dual blades, or anything with the sword icon, and it will increase our melee power, but it will also increase our dexterity. And since we only want melee power, we'll need to find a way to reduce the dexterity before it levels up. Once it's leveled up, you have to get an additional item to reduce the level. So to counteract the dexterity the items are giving, we'll feed it potions. Monomate, Dimate, and Trimate all reduce dexterity, but they also increase defense. Weapons will reduce the defense stat that they're in as well, so a melee weapon increases melee power, but reduces melee defense. So by cycling the weapons and the potions, you'll eventually level up the power stat of your choice. Monomate for melee, Dimate for range, and Trimate for tech. For pure dexterity, feed the mag discs, which are your techniques and photon arts that you learn, and the dex will go up and only the dex. So discs are very easy to do because it only does the dex stat and makes that one stat pretty pure. Don't worry if you feel you've messed up anything on the mag, there is ways to fix it, it'll just take a little effort. But for now, let's wrap it up, turn the client order back into Echo, and don't forget if you haven't equipped the mag, do so already. It should be floating over your shoulder if you did it correctly. Let's return to Officer Kofi and do her client orders, which will unlock additional features such as weapon palettes, a higher difficulty, and anything else she can offer. Once Kofi is situated, let's go on to Athens' mission. We'll approach the quest counter and we'll have tons of quests to choose from. This is pretty much where you set up all of your quests. Main missions are where you set up expeditions and do daily quests. Story missions are for a single player experience and to see what the story is. They're mostly going to be cutscenes and they're going to seem a little out of place, but they changed the way the cutscenes work. It used to be you went on expeditions and then ran into the story. Now you could just see all of it from here. Doing these is fantastic as you get some SG. SG is used for some premium aspects of the game, such as the mission pass, which is like a season pass. You'll need to buy those tickets, and that comes with SG. You can get some cosmetics and other things along the way. But for now, if you do the story, it won't provide that much experience, but it will provide you with some decent currency. Practice quests are a fantastic way to not only test your damage, but you can also try out every class, their weapons, and get a feel of how they work. So if you ever have the time and want to see what all the classes are about, practice quests are fantastic. Subquests allow you to experience every other type of quest, such as arcs missions, time trials, and other challenging quests. For Athens quest, we'll need to go to Arc quests and specifically pick up the Suppress von Groth. I've never been really good at these names. When picking up the missions, you'll select the difficulty, and the difficulty unlocks as you level up and get the license from Officer Kofi. Always attempt the highest difficulty as you gain more experience and find better drops. Enemies do not scale to your level, they scale to the difficulty. Once you've accepted the quest, let's give you a quick tour of the ship. The yellow terminal is the quest terminal, allowing you to change quests or pick up new quests if you finish the one you're on. The red terminal is the medic bay. It allows you to buy buffs, and you may only have one buff, but you can choose which one you get, which may also come with additional benefits the higher tier you choose. The eye icon on the side of your ship is access to NPC Partners. If you don't have anyone to join you, feel free to add a few NPCs to your group. This is how you bring NPCs on a quest with you if the client order asks you to take them with you. Picking some NPCs from the free tab will also give you some fun points after the mission's completed. It's not a half bad idea to pick them up. The blue terminal is the merchant. You can buy and sell there. An item to keep in hand is moon atomizers. They revive your fallen allies, always good to have in a party. The teal box terminal is used for storage. This is how you store and retrieve items. You can store items at any time, but you can only retrieve them from the teal box terminals. So if you're in the middle of a quest, your inventory is full, feel free to deposit stuff by clicking on them and sending them to storage, but you cannot get them back out of storage until you've visited the terminal. Run through your quest and return to the ship. You may have noticed while you were out that you were getting some bingos. Well, that is your bingo card, and it does provide you various rewards. You can find out more about it in the current events under the World tab in the main menu. You can find out what it takes to get a bingo and what rewards you'll get for how many bingos you achieve. More bingo cards will be added as time goes on, so always be sure to check in if a new bingo card arrives. While we're at it, let's also go ahead and learn how to check our character information. Here you'll see what type of buffs you have on, and you'll notice that there is a party boost effect. For every NPC player in your team, you'll get a 5% boost. For every actual player in your team, you get 10%. So I have a 25% party boost since I myself am worth 10% and the 3 NPCs are worth 5% each. Playing with others can be very rewarding, so try to play with others when possible. Don't limit your expeditions to only yourself. The effect you get from this is called a tri-boost, which is comprised of the 3 primary boosts you have in the game, Meseta, Rare Drop, and EXP, so you're effectively boosting all 3 of these at once. You'll likely have a ton of these types of boosts in your inventory as well. Do not be shy on using them when going on quests. You will get plenty of boosts of all kinds, and they can be used only while you're in the ship or on the field. Can't be using it at the main base. These can help you level quickly, get tons of Meseta, and find those rare items you're looking for. The boosts do stack as well, so using a 50% experience boost with a 50% tri-boost will give you a 100% EXP. The tri-boosts from other events and effects will stack as well, so a tri-boost from a ticket, a tri-boost from the party, and a tri-boost from a special event will all stack, so make sure that you find ways to gather as much as you can and stack that as high as you can. The 4 currencies of this game are Meseta, it's a yellow M, it's pretty much it's your gold, it's what you spend most of your stuff on. There's Fun Points, which is the blue F, this is for buying cosmetics for doing community things. There's SG, which is the Rainbow Diamond, it's the freemium currency, you get it for doing the story, and it's for cosmetic and unlockables, you'll get it for events as well. And finally there's AC, that's for premium status, inventory upgrades, and other various cosmetics and convenience items. Returning to Affin and turning in his client order will also give us one to go speak to a summoner. This essentially grants you some starter gear for the summoner, and if you're not playing this class, you can just deposit the goods, get the client order with, and move on. While you were out on a quest, you've likely gotten some units to equip, so check to see if you've got enough units to equip each in the armor tabs and fill up those slots and turn that in as well. Units are primarily for defense as you progress in the game, and you can check them for set effects that can boost your power further. This would be something to go into depth when you're at a higher level, since a lot of the early game armors don't have it, but for now, equip whatever you find that provides the highest stats, and later we can get some guides up regarding what has set effects and how to access those. Once Evan asks us to take a quest with him, we're actually going to say goodbye and head off to find our next tutorial and best friend, Jan. Jan is located in the shopping plaza. To get to him, we'll take the elevator in the center of the gate district. We'll be ported to the top of the shopping plaza. Simply jump down, make your way straight down some stairs from where you entered, and turn left. Jan will be there waiting to teach us about functions within the shopping plaza, as well as how to perform some community things. Jan will have a partner client card requiring you to take him on a quest and do it while receiving an S rank. You can pick that up for now, but we're going to do that later. We'll want to actually focus on everything we can do now without leaving, such as storing an item, which should be self-explanatory, but go into your inventory, click the item, send it to storage, you're done. Next up is the Visaphone. This is a terminal with a lot of functionality on it. It's how you access the player market where other players sell their items, and you'll only be able to sell items if you're either a premium player or find a temporary shop ticket that allows you to sell items for 3 days, and after those 3 days are up, you can't add any more items, but it will continue to sell them for you. But for Jan, we'll want to search for a player. Just go to the Visaphone, search for Arc Search, then search player. You can type anything here, just hit search and it should work. Turn in and move on. Next we're going to learn a little bit about Autochat. What he wants you to do is simple. We want to go into the options in the game and go to chat settings. Here select Autochat and find the section that says at quest completion. Type something in the box and you're set. Autochat essentially has your character say what you type there. So for example, since we're doing at quest completion, once the quest completed, the character will say whatever we've put down. There are a lot of events you can use this for, and you can even add variety lines by hitting the plus button and putting more phrases in the separate boxes. And you can even have some funny one-liners. And no worries about annoying other people, only players in your party will see these chats. To finish the client order, we actually have to trigger the auto chat, which means you need to go finish a quest. So we'll have to go on an expedition. You can actually take Jan with you and get that S rank to clear multiple client orders at once. You could take one of the 2 elevators near the shops and return to the gate district and go on the quest. Verify that Jan's quest does not require you to go on a specific ARCS mission for exploring something specific. If not, just take him on an expedition, you should be good. Once we return, we continue to do client orders for Jan. There will be one to look at the AC shop, which is just very simple. Go to the shopping cart icon in the main menu, go to the AC shop, good stuff. After that, Jan will want you to send kudos to a player. It's just pretty much a compliment and gives you fun points. You can send as many kudos per day you want, but only 10 of those kudos are going to be worth points every day. To do this, the best way and fastest way is to go to your main menu and on the 4th tab, select nearby players. Select anyone, go to communication and hit send kudos. You don't need to leave a comment, but you can if you want to, and this is just a fun way to interact with people and get fun points. Now that he's got us earning fun points, Jan wants us to now get fun scratch tickets. These scratch tickets are a way to earn cosmetics and various consumables. AC scratch tickets are the premium scratch tickets and require the premium currency of real money. Fun scratch tickets are a free version which come with completely different items. Items within these scratch tickets can be found by clicking on a scratch ticket and going to view prize list. AC scratch sets will rotate over time. The fun scratch is technically always there, but the items within it will rotate as maintenances come around, so be sure to visit often and see what items appear and disappear. So we'll continue with Jan, edit your client ARC ID. It's just a way to change your, I guess, identification card. I don't really look at these things in game. I don't know how many people actually do, but you can put some interests, some things on your wish list, things you want to gift out, all that kind of fancy jazz. Once you turn that in, we'll now have to find the Funporium. Now that we know about scratch tickets, it's time to find a place where you can spend your fun points on more consistent items. You'll head over to the green colored shop that's actually directly behind you. This is the Funporium. It's essentially a store to directly purchase cosmetics and consumables with fun points. These items are not typically found in the fun scratch card either, so if you're looking for something specific to add to your cosmetic collection, this is where to go. Now onto the important bits, item enhancement. Item enhancing is very important later in the game, but you won't be doing it too much, if at all, below level 40, since you'll be finding newer and better weapons all the time. Weapons go up to a plus 30, they can be pushed to 35 later in the game, but that is for a whole nother guide. There is a whole bunch to enhancement, but all you really gotta know is the basis of how it works. First, you go to the purple shop where you do your enhancements, select item enhancing, and then you'll select the base item that you'll actually be enhancing, and then feed it other items. So if I pick a sword, I'll start feeding it other weapons. Feeding it a weapon of the same type will grant bonus experience, and the same goes for a weapon with enhancement already on it. So feeding my sword with no enhancement with a +5 sword will give bonus experience. The confirmation window will let you know of the additional materials needed to complete the enhancement, while also allowing you to use enhancing boosts you might have found. Typically you'll just need some grinders until you get up into the high end. Again, separate guide for that kind of stuff along the way, but this is just the basics to enhancing. Feed it some weapons, level it up, pay the grinders. The amount varies based on how much you're feeding to the item, but all you need to do is feed one item, get it enhanced one time, and you'll likely find a new item sooner or later. So no worries about what you're enhancing right now, just get it done so you complete the order. Turning that into Jan will then move us on to enhancing a weapons element. It works the same way as enhancement. You go to the same shop and you still pick enhance item, but this time we're going to need an item of the same rarity and category in order to enhance the element specifically. Using the exact same weapon will increase the amount of element boost you'll be providing. If you don't have these readily available, just either head out to a quick expedition and pick some weapons up, or go to the Visaphone, product search the cheapest item, buy 2 with the same element, take them over to the enhancement shop. When you enhance a weapon of the same type with a weapon of the same element, it'll boost the points. Elements max out at 50 points, so enhancing items in this way won't be done too much at a low level, as again, you'll be finding better weapons along the way. You'll be practicing this more often when you have weapons of a higher rarity or have to start mixing and matching weapons of elements for the future. Again, separate guides, but this is just to get you started on how this works and that it exists. After that, Jan is going to ask us to affix an augment. Augments can be one of the most confusing bits to this game. It's pretty complicated and you're definitely going to need a couple spreadsheets and a guide. But essentially, items come with augments, which boost certain stats on the item. You can check what these augments do by swapping to the third tab of the item's description. So when you highlight an item, it'll show the window of the description of all the stats in the item, and then there's the 1, 2, 3 tabs. Click on the third one, and you can see what each individual augment is doing. Affixing augments is such a complicated process, it's not worth worrying until you have that final weapon at the end of the game and then you want to affix that weapon. It's a pure min-max thing, nothing for you to worry about. But for now, we're going to treat it just like enhancing. Head over to the shop where we enhanced an item, but instead we're going to select Affix Augment. You'll select the item you're transferring augments to and select the weapons you want to take augments from. Afterwards, it will list available augments to transfer based on the combinations you made and the success rate of whether or not the augment will transfer over based on the ones you selected. Just select a couple of them, and regardless of the outcome, it should just complete Jan's quest and turn in. Augmenting is a beast of its own, but it's something you'll learn eventually later with a couple of guides at max level. Don't even sweat about it for now. Just fix the thing, turn the client order in, profit. Since that about completes everything we need to do with Jan, we have one more stop on our guide today, and that's over to the cafe. Located across the way in the shopping plaza, here we will want to start our client orders for Sophia. She'll teach us how to harvest, since harvesting is moderately important. It's good for cooking and skill rings, and cooking grants bonuses when you eat the food, and skill rings provide passives to enhance your, skills. The mechanics for harvesting is pretty simple, but can get a little deep when it comes again to min-maxing how you get all the items. You'll head into an expedition to harvest. Now that you've talked to Sophia and started this harvesting, you'll be able to see how you harvest. There'll be green and blue markers on the map. Can't miss them. Just walk up to them and press E. You have a limited amount of stamina, so you just harvest up. It takes about 5 hours to get all the stamina back. Get your materials, head back to the cafe. In the cafe, there are 2 shops, one being a culinary shop and the other one being a skill ring shop. These act as normal shops, but they're also the way to cook and technically craft. The items that are on sale will require materials that will be listed under target items. You just need to bring the materials plus the money and then you can exchange those for the item you're trying to buy. Cooking will provide boosts, and then again skill rings will provide you with unique passives from skill trees. The one they're going to want you to get is the Berserker Ring. It's actually pretty good for you all the way across. If you want to get deep into it, just look at the ring that sounds good to you and then learn to craft it. There will be some class guides around that will tell you what rings you want to look for. It depends on what you're trying to do. Not all rings are, equivalent, but, get what you can done for you. Get the client orders done here, and that wraps you up. That wraps up my guide here. Hopefully this has helped you get through the client orders with ease and without you having to stumble around and figure certain things out, like where to go. So the next question is going to be, what do you do next now that we're done here? Simple, you're just going to continue doing your missions to help push you forward. Continue to unlock additional expeditions by doing more expeditions. Don't forget that when you finally hit level 20, you want to check back with Officer Kofi for your subclass. She'll provide you with a client order. To get it, you have to go hunt 2 enemies. One will be in the forest, the other is in the volcanic caves. Hunt those areas and you'll find them in no time. From here on, you've pretty much completed the basics of the game with so much more to explore. You still have the fashion, urgent quests, casino, alliances, leaderboards, and just so much to do. As you get used to everything, it gets easier. Take it slow, explore to your heart's content, and just keep learning. Just keep a few things in mind as you move forward in the game though. You'll always want to check with Officer Kofi for new orders about every 5 levels. If you hear an emergency requiring all ARC's operatives to report in, feel free to report in. Just go to the quest counter when they say it's time. Usually it happens on the hour or within the 30 minutes. Once they make the emergency call, it's usually a 15-minute warning before the quest starts. Those quests are up for 30 minutes and you can participate in them for good experience and great drops. Also, pay attention to NPCs that appear on the top left of the intercom. They appear and give you some sort of advice. They'll say attention, emergency, whatever. Just listen. They always give tips, and those tips can make a drastic difference. I've seen too many players ignore it and think it's just worthless. They give you updates on boss health. They sometimes expose the boss's weakness for you, so just listen to what they have to say and read it. If you find yourself on ship 1 and need an alliance, I'll also be accepting. Just send me a whisper. You can find me under TydeTyme on the ARC's player search. If you need any additional help, feel free to hit me up either in-game or in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to get all the information I can out there. I want to make videos to cover the more in-depth mechanics, as there is so much that it can be really hard to cram in one video. And a lot of the guides tell you about how to do things, but not in a way that help push you forward. I've had a lot of people come to me and it got a bit confusing. So even though I won't be teaching you how to min-max, I'm more or less going to make sure that you and your friends can just press forward without needing someone to hold your hand there all the time. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, good game.